Welcome to the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. We're going to explore ways to sharpen our diagnostic skills, find learning resources, and hear from experts in the automotive field. This episode is brought to you by L1 Automotive Training and Keith Perkins. If you're looking for education on module programming, J2534, EEPROM work, key and immobilizer, electrical diagnostics, or drivability diagnostics, Keith has a website, l1training.com, that's got over 60 hours of training videos on all those subjects and more. When I first started out doing mobile, I utilized Keith's videos on module programming in J2534 in order to get my head wrapped around what I would need for the tooling, the computers, the software setups, what kind of obstacles I would be up against when I'm out there programming modules on cars. And it was a huge benefit to me. And I continue to use the training videos that he has on his website. So I strongly recommend checking out l1training.com. The link is in the show notes. Hey, what's going on, automotive world? Welcome to another episode of the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. My name is Sean Tipping. I will be your host once again for today's episode. We haven't had a guest on the show for a little while, but Tommy's back. He'll be joining us as well, along with Matthew Elder. Matthew is from Texas. He is a technician who just recently finished up with tech school down there. He is looking to get out into the field and mainly pursuing the diagnostic path. So we're going to have a chat with him and kind of just run through some advice that Tommy and I both have in regards to diagnostics themselves, but then also looking for a potential employer and the sort of things that he's looking at as he starts his career. So really nice guy, really smart. It was very nice to get to chat with him. But with that out of the way, let's jump into the episode. All right, good evening, gentlemen. We got Tommy and Matt here tonight. It's been a little while since we did one interview with people. How long has it been, Tommy?
Shit, man, like a couple months, man.
Yeah,
it's been a crazy summer for me, man. And then fucking Sean wants to go on vacation. Fucking white people vacation. Where are you going, bro? I'm thinking I always it behooves me, right? It's a new word that I got in my arsenal. It behooves me when I hear people saying, "Where are you going on vacation?" "Oh, I'm going to Florida. I'm going to fucking Alabama. I'm going to Montana." Like, the fuck? That's not a fucking vacation to me, man. And what are you gonna do? I'll hike. Fuck you. Yeah.
It was
when
gorgeous.
I'm going on vacation, I don't want to do shit. I don't even want to get up to take a shit. Like, I just want to just lie there with my phone off and just watch some water, whatever.
Like, you can do that. There was water. Your phone didn't have reception. I need activities. That's my thing for vacation.
Me getting chased by a grizzly is not a fucking activity for me. Fuck that. Me and nature do not mix.
We didn't see any, but the fear was there for sure, because you'd see people and be like, yeah, we just saw one, down that path. And so I'm like this with my bear spray, and yeah, it was cool though. I would recommend it if you're into nature and all that stuff.
Negatory.
So Matt's joining us this evening. Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from?
Yeah, so actually, I did want to say before, I want to say this right at the beginning because I want to make sure I don't forget it, and then I'll tell a little bit about myself. But I wanted to thank you guys for doing this podcast, and I wanted to extend that to, obviously, and including my individual instructors, but this industry in general, like as a student, because I just graduated school and am now transitioning into the industry as a working professional. And everybody that's in it understands how difficult it is, like how hard it is, the volume of information, so many different areas of things you need to know about. And, as someone once said, we choose to do these things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. But they are so much harder if we don't have the people that are helping us, that are coming up behind you guys and eventually working alongside you guys, to be able to do that. So I feel like that probably doesn't get said enough. I think that I've tried to get in the habit of thanking my instructors at the end of every class and stuff, because I know how difficult it is to try and learn these things on your own. And so having resources like this podcast, where people are just kind of willingly helping you and taking time out of their own lives to do so, I think is really important. So I wanted to say that up front to make sure I didn't forget to say that at some point. So thank y'all for doing that. And again, everyone that helps to educate those of us in this field.
Well, I mean, it's only people reaching out like you. The podcast is the only reason I keep doing it. If it wasn't for the people that have genuinely expressed the value they got out of something I put out there, or guest I had, or whatever, like, yeah, I would have stopped doing it. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. That that's very kind, and yeah, we'll keep doing it as long as we can.
That's great. But yeah, so a little bit about me. I'm obviously, I guess if you can see the video, like people know this, but most people I think are listening audio. But I'm a little bit older than probably what we think of as most people coming into the industry at this point. I'm 44. And I actually didn't start. So I just graduated from ACC, Austin Community College in Austin, Texas. You've had a couple of people on this podcast that I know from ACC and or have been my instructors. Zach Sheaf was one of them that was on the podcast. And then Malcolm Trammell, who was one of my instructors, also was on the podcast. And I originally started taking the classes just for my own edification, because I've always been interested in cars and stuff. I actually worked at a shop for sort of an embarrassingly long amount of time, but not as a tech whatsoever. I just worked in the office. Because at the time my thinking was is that I can work on my own car, okay, but you couldn't pay me enough to work on other people's all day every day. And it turns out neither of those things I think were quite accurate. I probably did not know as much. And in fact, I know I didn't know as much as I do now, and hope to continue to learn more in the future, uh, going forward. And apparently, you can pay me enough to do this.
Everybody's got a number.
Well, right, exactly, exactly. And so I just started taking the classes again, just because I was interested in it. And as I took more of the classes, my interest really started to grow. And specifically, there was a sequence of events that happened around when I took like engine performance, which is one of the classes in our program. And I started to kind of put the pieces together. And I think that's the class where a lot of people, as students that go through like a 2 year program like I did, I've heard also start to put, like you have these kind of different areas of knowledge, and you start to understand how these systems are working together and integrating and understanding, oh, you can get from here to here because this is doing this and then this does this based on that, etc. And I got really interested in it, especially the diagnostic side of things. And I had some interesting things happen with my own vehicle around the same time that forced me to get better at it and learn more about it. And so what started out as just I'm kind of interested in this almost as like for my own hobby to know about to be able to do my own car stuff, into that like no, I'm this is what I want to do as a career at this point. So that's how I've ended up where I am at this point. Prior to that, I actually went to ACC and graduated from their radiology program. So I was an X-ray tech for actually a very short period of time, because it wasn't long that I was in that, where I was like, okay, this is they trained me to do exactly what they said they would train you to do, but I wasn't passionate about it the same way I am about automotive at this point, where I'm studying on my own outside of class, and kind of always trying to improve my knowledge and learning, because there is just so much to learn in this industry. So just graduated this past summer, and now transitioning into the actual workforce at this point. I haven't gotten a job yet. I've really kind of been putting it off. I have other things that I'm trying to get done before I start working, because I feel like once I actually start working, that's when it's going to go into overdrive, because it's like you see so much during the day that you have to go home at night and really, okay, what did I see today? Like what happened today so that I can be better at it tomorrow, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely depends on the role in the shop that you're going to go into. What it's going to be like at the beginning. But just out of curiosity, because I know literally nothing about it, what kind of money does a person make being an X-ray technician? Like I saw the
Not an
program at the college, but I don't know what's the career path on that.
So it was a little bit tougher. So this would have been, I graduated in 2012 from the
Oh, okay,
radiology program.
gotcha.
So it was pre-COVID. So I'm curious myself at this point, like, because obviously COVID had a huge impact on everything in terms of the pay scales on a lot of things got rearranged post-COVID. And I think, healthcare in particular did that. But how much, I don't know.
Okay,
Austin is also a weird market because it's desirable. There's a lot of people that want to move to Austin, so they didn't have a hard time attracting workers, and they were putting
sure.
out a new cohort for because we have ACC here that was putting out, X-ray techs every year. So there was
Okay,
always a new cohort coming out to fill it. And there's only so many hospitals and clinics in the area. But when I came out, I
gotcha.
was PRN, which means basically like you weren't full time, it was just as needed, So if somebody was taking vacation for a week, you would go in for a week or cover shifts for people. So I didn't have a set schedule, but as PRN at that point, and this was 2012, and again, Austin is, you can make more money going outside of Austin. It was like $20 an hour is what it
Okay,
was at that point.
okay.
So I don't know how that is now, but I do
Hmm.
know if you went to communities outside, like even smaller communities outside of Austin, they paid more because they had a harder time getting people. Sort of the downside of being in a desirable location is that lots of people want to work
Yeah,
there.
sure. Yeah, then yeah, you're in competition. Whereas I don't know, at least around here, as long as I've been in the industry, if you're going to apply for a job at a shop as a technician, you're probably the only person applying for that job, or maybe there's two or three people.
Really?
As all the interviews I've had, at least in my career, it's like I was one of very few people applying for the job. I would show up in shorts and a t-shirt, and it was like, okay, do you got tools? Okay, when can you start? Cool. And that was pretty much it.
Yeah, and I don't know how that is in the industry as a whole at this point, because there's been talk about that we don't have enough techs. There was the whole big thing with the Ford CEO saying we have so many empty bays, and there's been a lot of conversation about why that is and what the industry's role is in that, and people's kind of, I think there's a lot of critique about why are we in this scenario and what can we do differently to attract more people so that we're not as deficient as they are with techs. Is that because I know Tommy's in Chicago? What is it like in Chicago for finding techs?
We're definitely in a weird situation. And honestly, like, I mean, see, there's just like a conundrum of stuff when it comes to the industry, right? I'm a little jaded, but I'm also like, I love what I do, and I feel fortunate and blessed to be able to do what I do. But I'm also a realist, and I also know that it's not perfect, man. Like, there's a lot wrong in our industry but a lot of it is like, I call it the chicken and the egg stuff, man. Like, whose fault is it, right? Like, I mean, people buying cars they can't afford because we're a consumer minded we're consumerisms. Like, we were programmed from children that, in order to actually be happy you need to buy shit, right? Like, and then, like, you go to Guatemala, right? And I say it a lot, but I'm familiar with it. But you buy a car, and dude, that car is yours until it's fucking dead. And at that point, you're putting a boat engine in it, and it keeps going. Like, people don't change cars because they feel like it. It's a tool. People use cars to get to work because they need to provide for their families because the job market's competitive. So, people, they don't have the money like here for investing in vehicles, but they invest in their vehicles. Um, I mean, up until now, it was really hard pressed to find somebody to put a transmission, an engine in a vehicle, because it was just like, oh, I just go buy another car, right? Like we've all heard, me and you, Sean, you've heard that, plenty of
Yep.
times. I,
My lease is up, or
yeah, or whatever, and then we go back to like the ease of owning of getting a vehicle, um, makes people not have a concrete value behind what they're driving. People really just don't understand, and I don't know if people just can't process it right, but right now, like I have a, I'm a GM guy. I've had four Escalades, and I want the V. That's like a dream car of mine. It is $195,000.
Mm.
So you mean to tell me that somebody who buys a over $100,000 vehicle still thinks the oil change should be $20? Now I really want you to think about that. No, it's from 10 years from now. That Escalade V is still a $200,000 vehicle with $200,000 worth of parts. That's one problem, right? And then we have the manufacturers who think we're stupid and they don't want us working on our cars, but at the same token, we need more technicians. No, you need more technicians because you keep shortchanging people on warranty time.
Yeah.
So it's like here in Chicago, the industry is in a weird spot. Like aside from the political climate that we're suffering here right now, me as an independent, I have a bit of a challenge. Probably finding a higher level technician because the majority of the dealer shops in Chicago are union, and also like Chicago employs a lot of fleet. So like there's huge fleets here. People's Gas, ComEd, um, the city of Chicago, Park District. Like we have fleets everywhere. So like if you're not having a dealer, you'll get a job at a fleet easily. So then the little guys like me are just gonna be hard pressed to be able to compete with the benefits and you know the type of environment that you're gonna get. We have to figure out how to compete that way. So that's my perspective. I have thankfully a bunch of people who want to work with me, but I didn't want to grow another technician. It gets hard. You think obviously like there's a give and a take, but the last technician I had who was with me for on and off for about 3 years, and I grew him, and then unfortunately things just went sideways, and he parted ways. So it's never easy. So like again, it's a very unique situation in Chicago. Um, but I see an uptick in the industry for the next few years because anybody who bought a car during COVID, it's out of warranty right now, and people are underwater on their loans. Ugly.
yep,
You have to
yep.
fix it. There is no way around it. And then
Yeah.
and you're not buying another car. Like there's just nothing for you to buy. Like, you're gonna we put a transmission in a customer's vehicle, $6,500, and they didn't have a choice. My writer
Hmm.
was like, "Listen, you can do this or buy somebody else's problem unless you're buying a new vehicle." But then this same vehicle, brand new, is now $35,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I've run into that myself, and I'm going to use the term customers, just because that's how I think of the people that I do work for. They're not actually like nobody pays me at this point, but
They're still
had
customers. I
yeah,
mean,
and
we're
that's
talking
my
about the
thought
people that you're
process
at
is
the. Yeah, they're still your clients. Like that
yeah,
doesn't.
exactly. So I don't think of it any differently just because I'm not getting paid for it. Like I treat it the exact same way as if I was. But same thing. I think it was a 2019, I want to say it's a Buick Encore and 175,000 miles, and it's got that 1.4 Ecotec engine in it, which is not the best. And there's just so many things that it needs and are wrong with it. But she she's a nursing student, she's in nursing school, and needs it to be able to have transportation to get to and from school, but she's kind of upside down where it's like what she has to pay it off, but like the same sort of situation, what she owes on it is more than you could essentially get for it at this point, and so she can't afford another car. And so it's like we've got to do what we can to keep this vehicle at least somewhat reliable to get her through nursing school so she can start making some money to buy a non, you know, non-domestic passenger vehicle. of that particular type. Because I was
and
like, if you had a
and here's
Toyota or a Honda, we wouldn't be here right now. But
but
a lot
but
of people
then
end up in that situation where they have to put money into a vehicle that, unfortunately, you'd rather not, but it's kind of the only option you have.
yeah, but respectfully, man, that doesn't even matter anymore. Like, let's just call it what it is. And obviously, we know that Honda and Toyota have been like the gold standard in automotive quality, but I just don't see it anymore. I don't, and
Everything breaks.
I have an example, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
I had a poor customer with a Chevy, the Buick version of the Trax. I forget, I think Envision, Encore. Those Korean SUVs that are just absolute junk. And
Yeah.
I mean,
Hmm.
this poor lady, like, it was within a month time frame, dude. Like, within 2 months, she poured over 6 grand into this car. And I mean, and nothing we did, like we would fix was like these things just leak. The last leak was actually
Oh, yeah.
we had to remove the turbo, and then
Yep.
the turbo had a crack in it. So we're just like, it's already here. You need a turbo.
Hmm.
And again, she's like, you think it's gonna be fine? I said, ma'am, what am I? I'm not gonna tell her, sorry, you're driving a piece of shit. But I'm like, hopefully after this, like this is the so I'll say stuff like, well, right now this is kind of like the most common failures for this vehicle. So keep taking care of it, and it'll serve you well for the next few years. I can't. I'm not gonna say, hey, get rid of this piece of shit, because what are you gonna buy? A bigger piece of shit for twice the
Yeah.
amount of money.
That
Yeah.
I'm sure both of you guys have had people outside the industry ask you like, "What car should I buy?" Like, I'm looking for a real reliable, nice car that's
Get
going
a
to do
fucking
well.
time machine and go find you a 2000 Camry.
Hey,
Yeah,
no
I'm like,
kidding.
I think all the '98 Buick LeSabres are rusted out around here, so I have no
Dude,
advice for you.
it's just so bad. And people are like, oh, Honda or Toyota. Dude, I had a 2020 Accord. We put a turbo in it from the dealer. The car came in, and I didn't really feel bad, but the car came in misfires and underboost. The turbo was bad. Right, so I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna chase misfire codes, but I revised it afterwards. Car was fine. Drove it. Car was fine. What the customer omitted to tell me was it only misfired at cruising speeds like 60, 70 miles per hour. But I found it weird that I found this, going after like my diagnostic process to see what I could have done better, because the customer was a little irate because he comes back, he's like, hey man, like, car feels a lot better, but it's still misfiring. I said, okay, well, bring it by, let me take a look. I saw a freeze frame, and I'm just like, okay, this doesn't make sense to me, dude. I checked and I checked, and I actually ended up driving it. I checked back pressure. I drove it on the E-way, and lo and behold, between 60 to 70 miles per hour, it's misfiring cylinder number three. Dude, guess what was wrong with it? Fucking head gasket.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It was leaking coolant in cylinder number three, and I'm just like, and it will only produce a misfire at that speed. And I tell him, dude, you, I mean, all the research, the mileage that you have on this thing, we either rebuilt the head, or you just get. I can find you a low cost, like low mileage engine. And he's just like, dude, I wish I would have known this. I would have never, like, I would have told you, but we didn't. We had no way of knowing. How am I gonna sit here and diagnose a misfire with a bad turbo? I can't.
Right.
I physically can't. And so he
Yeah.
understood, and we put an engine in it, and so you see what I'm saying? Like, and this car is what, 5 years old? Needs an engine and a turbo.
Right.
So like, no, like it's just it's the same junk.
Yeah.
It's
The
they're-
Honda. So, because my sister and brother-in-law are actually looking for a new vehicle right now, so I've been having these conversations with them, and trying to, guide them down to this is what I would do, but it's your money, you get to decide. But it used to be Honda because I helped my mom pick out and buy a Honda. It was a 2006 Honda Accord, and that thing was great. It had that K series engine. We sold it with 190,000 miles on it, and it still ran just fine. And in hindsight, should have hung on to it. But I think I don't recommend Hondas. Like, I haven't recommended a Honda to them at this point because Honda has moved completely to the turbos, which a lot of manufacturers have, and CVTs, which the CVTs, I think some of them they've gotten better. I have a Nissan Versa, like a 2007 Nissan Versa, and so that it's got that CVT that we're just
One has a CVT. Most of them had hydraulic transmissions.
No, it's a CVT. Yeah. So, knock
The
on
early
wood.
one.
Yeah, knock on wood when I say that. But so I've been trying to guide them towards if you have the option, choose I would go with a non-turbo option. I would go with a traditional transmission, like a non-CVT transmission, and trying to go with what at least what Toyota has, the combination of port injection and direct injection, which that's the car I helped my mom pick out and replace what that Accord with was a 2019 RAV4, which luckily we got right before COVID. So really good timing on that one. But
The least
my
amount of extra stuff that you can have on a car is the way you want to go. And I tell people is like all the fancy stuff. Just if you're going to keep that car for 10, 15 years, I don't know, like that's just way that much more stuff to break. And if you want to fix it all, cool. But if you're looking to have something that's low maintenance that you don't have to fix all the time, find like the base model. Like, and that's the thing is like everything has, you know, eight different ADAS modules now in addition to everything else. And like, that stuff's going to break right up here. We're going to get salt, corrosion, all that stuff's going to, you get an offender bender, obviously way more expensive to fix, all that stuff. It's just, yeah. So I'm always in that time machine mode of like, what old car can I find for myself,
Mhm.
so that I don't have to worry about any of that
We
stuff.
ain't finding that up here though. Although
No, it's all rusted out.
there is a good friend of mine, her kid, good kid, but just like a fucking. I was watching that '70s show over the weekend. Just a fucking kettlehead, man. He has a 2004 Camry that he blew the engine on, right? Like it had a leak in it and he didn't care. He forgot to put oil in it. And so he tows it to me for a no start. I'm like, all right, I'll check it out. And then, I hear it and I'm just like, it goes, ring clack. I was like, So I start looking for the hole in the side of the block, and lo and behold, number one left the chat. So I call him. I'm like, dude, he's an engine. I quoted him one from JDM, and blah blah blah. It's like 3,500, something. Not just slap an engine in and call it a day. I don't care. And he just absolutely refused. Like, no, 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 no. There's no way. I'm not sinking that much money into that car. I'm not. I'm like, dude, this is a Toyota Camry, dude. This is like the best car you can have. You did this. It's not the car's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Put an
Mm-hmm.
engine in it. I called his mom, and she was kind of like, well, it is older. It is gonna. I'm just like, all right, man, I'll buy the car off you. I bought it for scrap, just for like, I don't know. I said I figured I'll fix it, slap a block in it. I don't know. I was just like, whatever. I'll buy a car like that every so often. I had my guy lift it up because I was like, all right, let me see how rusty it is. If it's super rusty, then I'll just, I'll send it to scrap, pull some stuff off of it. My guy comes back and he's like, dude, that car is fucking clean. I'm like, no way. He's like, it's clean. I was like, nah, you're kidding me. He's like, no, look, come look. Dude, this car was fucking pristine. So I'm like, I ran the VIN. It was a California car. It was a damn California car. I'm like, man, this kid was
That's where I got my last truck from. Yep.
real
Mhm.
fucking knucklehead. So yeah, so now I have a clean Toyota Camry.
Yeah,
What
we're
like
Speaking of old
spoiled.
Hondas,
We're
my
spoiled here in Texas because yeah, we don't see the rust that you guys do. In fact, I was working with some students that were like intro students, and they were under the very mistaken impression they're like that rust makes things easier to get off. Like, oh, it just falls off because of the rust. Things don't. And I was like, you do not. You have no.
well, eventually it rusts away, but
I was
that's
like, yeah, I
still not
guess if
quite
you
the
wait
same.
long enough, maybe that's true. But
Yeah.
you guys have no idea how lucky. I watch enough videos, from places that are up north. I see a lot
so
like South
like
Main Auto.
what my funny story about Rust was? You don't know what you don't know, right? Like I grew up wrenching in Chicago, so it was just common practice. And like um when I was in Florida, some chick that I was seeing wanted me to change her axle on her Honda, and I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna do this. I'm like, it was the older Honda with the wishbone, so you had to pop the lower the the strut tower bolt to get
A
it out.
bolt would get stuck in the
Yeah.
bushing.
Oh, dude, you know how bad those things used to get stuck, and I'm just like, lady, man, I don't want to do this job. Take it to a shop because I don't even have a torch here. I don't have nothing. I'm gonna do it on your garage.
Sitting there with a
And
bottle of Maps gas.
yeah, man, just praying
Yeah.
that this bushing doesn't seize,
Yeah.
and then if it does, you gotta bang it out and then get a. I'm like, nah. I told her I don't even have a press here. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And finally, she like convinced me to do it, and I'm just like, all right. So I went to go get some map gas, and and I wanted to prepare myself as much as I possibly can. Dude, I was done in 20 minutes. I'm like, what's going on here? I never seen a sway bar link fucking actually come out without cutting it off.
Yeah. Right.
Like everything came off like butter. I was just like, what is this sorcery? Where am I? And then and that's when it hit me. I'm like, oh, there's no salt here. Like they don't salt the roads. So I was like, wow, that was dope.
I just had Noah put a wheel bearing in my van, which is a press-in style, and mine is all rusted to hell because it's from Minnesota. And I was watching him do it, and I haven't done a press-in wheel bearing in probably about 5, 6 years now, and I'm like, I don't miss that at all. Like, no part of that is
Mm.
something I want
Yo,
to
I'm
do on a
surprised you
day-to-day
actually paid
basis.
somebody to do something, or is it like one of
I
those things where you're just like, it's easier to pay?
I diagged a car for him, and he put a wheel bearing in mine, and I was
That's
very
the
happy to offer that
Nice.
service for a
See,
free
as
for an
a
installable
somebody
wheel
coming
bearing.
in, like I know I have to pay my dues. Like I diagnostics is ultimately where I think I'll end up, but I know that I have to spend my time in the trenches before that because I want to be able to say because at least you're like I've done this before. I know how to do this. I just don't want to. You know, I'd rather
Well,
have somebody
having the
do it.
mechanical understanding of the stuff is important.
Yeah.
And I've run into that trying to grow the team, and some people are more they have more experience with the actual mechanical side of thing. They were technicians. They've taken all this stuff apart, and then some haven't, or at least not as much. And it
Hmm.
shows. Like there are definitely deficiencies when you're trying to figure out what's going on with the car if you never had the parts apart in your hands. And I'm
Hmm.
even finding that now where like 4 years ago coming into this, I'd had most of the stuff apart. And so I could say, yeah, you're going to take this apart and you're going to find that thing and it comes out like this. That's your problem. And now I'm dealing with stuff that I never had apart. And so I'm like, I'm reading the service info. It probably works like this, but you guys got to take it apart and see what's going on because I've never timing on engines. If I've done timing on an engine, like if it's an old 5.4 or something, I can tell them exactly like what they're gonna find and how they're gonna find it.
Right.
But if it's on something new that I've never had apart, I'm just kind of guessing. Like I know it's off. Take it apart, see what you find. So there's this, I think, a definite advantage to doing that stuff. At the very least, just understanding the physical how the physical parts work together, lining up camshafts and crankshafts. Because if you're trying to diagnose it without that reference, you're at a loss for sure.
Yeah, I feel that way, and that's been my experience. And that's what again sort of makes this industry, I think, so difficult. And again, I don't mean that in a bad way necessarily. It is what it is. But you just have to have so many sort of different areas of knowledge, and like you said, you can have people that are really good at sort of the mental side of things and understanding how that works, but then the actual physical side is a whole nother thing that you have to get good at, and like you have to have a certain proficiency just working with your hands to do it. And I think, like you said, to be really good, you need to be able to do both, and they're not exactly the same, but both are important for each. They help each other be better at both, if that makes
Well,
sense.
you got to have a mental image of what you're working with when you're trying to work through something.
Hmm.
I mean, even with electrical, like I feel like you have to have a mental idea of what's happening, even if it's not like you know, physics correct. But like if you can picture what's happening in that circuit in your head, that's like the basis to trying to get through it and trying to figure it out. But the same thing is true for mechanical. If you have no idea how the suspension components work together and you're trying to diagnose a clunk, good luck. Like it's not going to happen. And the best way to do that is to take it apart and put it back together 100 times, and then you know exactly all the parts that are moving and why that clunk happens over that bump and it sounds that way. And oh, if I turn this way, it's lighter because that's all part of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's something that I think I see. and again, I'm still new myself, but I'm now seeing newer students, that the ones that like intro and the taking the classes behind that coming behind me. And I think that's something that kind of gets missed a lot of times. And this is probably true, I think, of the industry as a whole, even for people that are working as techs at this point, where I feel like a lot of times there is too much just doing something, like just taking something apart, or just like, oh, replacing brakes, but not actually stopping and knowing what you're looking at, and like spending the a little bit of time to be like, does this look right? Like, is this even, should this thing be in the center here versus like compared to the other side? Things like that. I feel like there's, and a lot of times that they're just not really sure exactly what they're looking at. They're just kind of like, I know I just do this, this, and this, and not taking a little bit of extra time to really understand how does this work. And I'm like constantly doing that. Every time I see something, I got my flashlight and I'm looking and trying to think through. So if this does this, like this will do that, and like, and it's helped me. I've been able to catch problems because I was like, that doesn't look right to me. And it turns out sometimes it's not right because something was doing something it wasn't supposed to. And so, do y'all see that from the shops that you go to, and see your own techs, where people are just kind of like not really diagnosing the what's the underlying fault because they're just
Yeah.
doing?
All the time with decades of experience techs. So yeah,
Yeah.
every day, all the time, everywhere. So yes.
I can see it,
It's
like I said, and
rampant.
I see it in the students too. And I always try and stop
Yeah.
and be like, no, I want you to stop and understand what is happening, like what you're looking at. Don't just, less just doing, a little bit more thinking about what it is.
Well, it's just, if people call us up like, "Hey, my car doesn't start. Will you come out and check the PCM for updates?" Like that's a very, very, very common call that we get,
Hmm.
and we're like, "Dude, like that's not how this works." And I get it. Like if you're not in the programming, like okay, you don't understand all the ins and outs of it, but like just a little bit of like, well, what's the software update? What's the purpose of it? Like, how does that interact with my car? You
Hmm.
know, it doesn't crank. Do you really think like they just released a software update to fix it? I don't know. I'm sure
Yeah.
somebody give me an example where that's true.
Yeah.
Um, like so much of the time, no, it's like you need to put some effort into it. So yeah, like I say, rampant, it's very common. Mostly laziness. That's it. You know. And I think a lot of it is a lot of people don't really care that much about their job. They're just trying to get through, make a couple bucks. I think obviously you're somebody who is very interested and cares about this, and you'll do very well for yourself.
I hope so. I mean, I think that's important. Like, having dealt with people, like my customers, that have had bad experiences with other shops, or had shops that where it's like they'll start telling me what their sort of order was for like what they were checking and what order, and I'm like, well, why did they start there? Like, why would you do all that for like, for what this problem is that doesn't make like logical sense to me? And so the problem is somebody's got to
Mm.
pay for that. Like, that we're like, I guess sort of best case scenario in those cases is the shop is eating that time, but a lot of times that's not what happens. They end up charging the customer for not really knowing what they're doing. And
This show is brought to you by Automotive Seminars. If you're looking to stay up on the cutting edge diagnostic strategies and techniques, this is the place. You've got live 4-hour seminars that are put online that you can join in, ask questions, interact with the instructors with some of the best of the best. They've got Keith Perkins and John Thornton putting on classes like network diagnostics, mechanical engine testing, advanced electrical testing, and GDI diagnostics, and a ton more. And once you purchase one of these training seminars, you can access this at any time that you want through your account at automotiveseminars.com. You can rewatch the training a year, 2 years later, which makes this training even more valuable. So I highly recommend you check this out. The link is in the show
knowing what
notes.
they're doing. And it the customer suffers because of it. And we all know what it's like to, I think of this industry almost as like going to to the dentist. Like nobody really loves going to the dentist. You know, a lot of times you're going either for regular checkup, like an oil change sort of thing, and you're just hoping they don't find something expensive while they're in there
Mm-hmm.
doing your cleaning or whatever. Or worst case scenario, you have a problem and you go to them and you're like sort of
You have a
afraid.
choice.
Yeah, what is this gonna be? But what helps is if you have a good dentist that you know, like, I trust my dentist. I know that he knows what he's doing. If he says I need this, then I need this. You know, I know that he charges a fair amount for what he does. He's not trying to, sell me on things that I don't need. And that just helps put on a daily like basis. That helps people just have better lives. Like just being able to shed some of that anxiety and know that I have this problem, I can go to this person and they can fix this problem for me. But it takes effort to get to the point where you can do that because again, as we talked,
Sure
like
does.
this is hard. There's a lot to know, and it's only getting more complicated. And so I think for me, I've had experiences with my customer where I get really personal satisfaction out of being able to fix something that they've struggled with or that they haven't, whatever, they've taken it to other places and they haven't been able to figure it out. And so I'm sure you probably see that a lot where it's like, we've done this, this, and this, and we can't figure this out. And then you can come in and it's like, oh my God, thank you. I'm so glad you can do this for me.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely those moments where people are just freaking pumped because you found a connector that was loose that, you know, has had $1,000 thrown at it. And yeah, definitely a good feeling, and they're super ecstatic about it. Um, so okay, what are your expectations for where you're headed in this industry? What's your dream position? What are you shooting for? I'm just curious, as somebody looking at this from the start, you're excited about it. Where do you think you're going to end up? What's that going to look like for you ideally?
That is a good question. I'm not sure because this is again for this is pretty still new to me. This isn't something that was like,
Hmm.
oh, I've spent, I had thought for a long time this is what I'm just going to do and go to school for that. It's within the past, certainly within the past 2 years, and probably even less time than that, that it's kind of like, oh, this is what I'm going to do and stuff. But I feel really fortunate because I've spent a lot of time trying to find something that really stimulates me to learn and to grow and to challenge myself to fail a lot, but to actually not be afraid of that because I'm like, okay, that just means I have something to learn and I'll be better at this tomorrow. Oh, I think that starting out, like I said, I want to go work somewhere that is a shop where I'm going to see a variety of things. Because, as we talked about, I think that's really important. Even the stuff that I think lots of techs have seen 100 times before. It's like I haven't done 100 brake jobs. I haven't done 100 oil changes at this point. And so there's things I can learn from every job that I do. Um, I would say in an employer, what I would look for at this point starting out, and this I was going to ask you what y'all's thoughts on this is that I would say for me personally, anybody and any shop or dealership that I went to that would want to start me out on flat rate is automatically like that I'm not interested in working there. I think that a shop that understands when you bring in a new tech and is willing to grow a new tech understands that no, you need to start off hourly first because they're throwing you into the deep end, sink or swim is not the recipe for success. And I think, unfortunately, I think that's what happens a lot in the industry because it's like, oh, if it works out for you, great. If it doesn't, well, it doesn't cost us anything because you were flat rate. So you just got paid what we would pay anybody else for those jobs that pays 2 hours but took you 5 hours because you're a new tech.
Hmm.
So for me, that's what I am looking for because I feel like the shop and or dealership that is willing to invest in you you should be willing to invest in them as an employee. I feel like that's a two-way street. I feel like it's the same way with people. You know, you should invest your time and effort in the people that are willing to invest their time and effort in you. So I would say starting out, that is what I'm looking for. That's a good sign that okay that they're willing to grow a tech and let me improve so that I can be better for them and for myself. What are your thoughts on when bringing in it? Because I know Tommy said that he had somebody that grew and feels a little like got burned maybe on that at one point.
When I say I got thrown to the wolves, man, I got thrown into the fucking ocean full of sharks, man. I I went from hourly oil change lube tech to a full blown technician, and very first job they gave me was a heater core on a brand new Nissan Pathfinder. It took me
Just tearing out
five
the whole
days to do it.
dash. Yeah.
No, sorry, it took me like three. No, it was a 5 hour job, or warranty paid 5 hours. It took me 3 days. Yeah, because again, very scared, brand new car, very unknown. But I don't know, man. Truth be told, I have mixed feelings because although I do agree with you, the problem is the industry itself is not conducive to what you're asking for, right? Like it can be, but then to pay you hourly a decent living wage, you're gonna have to do a lot of monotonous shit. Like you're gonna have to do oil changes, you're gonna have to do brake jobs, and a lot of entry level stuff because that's for the majority of like high profit part of our industry is the C level stuff because it takes a not very skilled technician. It's very quick. There's a lot of parts markup, and then there's a lot of repetition, right? Like you don't really have to worry about somebody doing time. I mean, yes, there's obviously there's professionalism in everything that you're gonna do in a vehicle, right? Everything is dangerous. Oil change can cost an engine, tires can cost somebody their life, brakes. But if you really want to hone your skill sets, man, I don't know, man. I was forged by fire. Like I got thrown into it, and I don't know how. I think Sean kind of went through the same thing. And actually, man, when I moved to flat rate, I don't know, man. It served me well. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people don't agree with it, and that's fine, man. I mean, what I feel for me is more important for you is to find a shop culture that matches with you. It doesn't matter if it's independent or a dealer. Find a culture that fits for you, and then you'll be more successful that way. Like I would be more concerned about that, in my opinion, than worried about somebody's pay scale. Because, dude, I know some killers that are, dude, they're in the double digits. Um, they're in the upper hundreds, on flat rates, pure flat rate. So
Yeah, I think ultimately you can make more money on flat. Like I'm not. This is a
If you're a
touchy.
hustler, not
Yeah.
everybody, but the
no,
right
it's not good for
person
everybody
can
because I
definitely.
Hmm.
and because I know a lot of shop owners. I had a shop owner who they begged their technician to go on flat rate because they were constantly booking over hours and they just didn't want to. They didn't want to. They were just happy getting a salary, and that's fine. It did see that, and that's the beautiful part about communicating. So you're on the right path because you know what you want. I'm just saying keep an open mind, and I feel for me culture is more important than anything. Like my shop culture is more important. Like so my technician left again. Nothing. No, I don't think there's anything I could have done there. He moved. He moved states, so he left. Um, I had a roster of guys who wanted to work with me, but I was looking for a particular person, and I got tired, man. I'm busy. Like I have module stuff. I got like mobile programming I had to take aside. I'm growing this business from scratch, basically. Again, I'm learning how to run a business, and so then I made a decision to hire somebody after a month because I couldn't do it no more. And before I hired him, I actually paid him for a day. I paid his wages for a day. I'm like, how much do you make now? This much. Okay, I'm gonna pay you to come work here for a day. I wanted to see how he worked, how efficient he was, how good he was at certain things. But very important for me was how he fit in with us. Like
Yeah.
we all eat lunch together. Hey man, come eat. Here's some food. Hey, just grab whatever you want. There's drinks there. There's here. There's that. And just we were just all chit chatting. I have my nephew and my apprentice, and then I have my riders. And at the end of the day, before I told him anything, I talked to the guys. I'm just like, hey, what do you guys think? He's like, hey, we like him. Think he's cool. Then I talked to him, gave us expectations, and I gave him an offer, and he took it. So, I mean, culture is king for me because, dude, you're in there more. You're gonna spend more time at working with your family. So that's I don't know. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you that as starting off, flat rate sucks because you're going to be terribly inefficient. You're learning stuff, and if you're on strictly on flat rate at that point, that is pretty shitty. And so there should be at least some entry period. Like, well, let's get you up to speed on hourly before we transition you, or let's have a guarantee or something. A lot of places have that.
Mm,
But depending on your style and what you're able to do, eventually you'll get to a point where if you're doing repair work, I would say diagnostics may be different, but if you're doing repair work, you'll eventually get to a point where you're like, okay, I could be making more in flat rate. And I went too long because my first job, it was like hourly plus commission, and I wasn't good enough to really make any money off of that. But then I went to a shop and I was just hourly, and I was there for 5 years, and I grew a lot during that period of time, but I lost a lot of money because when I went to flat rate, I doubled what I was making in that next year. I'm like, oh, I should have been on this a long time ago. Because I could crank out some work. So yeah, again, it's for the right person. If you understand efficiencies, like you can. My my life was in tenths of an hour. Like that's how I thought about everything was tenths of an hour.
Uh-huh.
Like everything I did was like, okay, how many tenths of an hour is this costing me? And you know, you really you put in the time, you put in the work, you get to it, and then that's how you making 100 hours in a week or whatever. But um, it does depend on what your ultimate goal is because diagnostics not suited for diag. We've talked about that plenty of time. Or I'm sorry, um, flat rate not suited for diagnostics.
uh-uh.
That's not going to work out. So
Yeah.
I would ask, if you're interested in the diagnostic side of thing, you want that to you know be all or part of your job. Then I would talk to the people there, like, what do you guys do for diagnostics? Like, how do you handle that? How do you pay your guys for diag? Do you see yourself or have a role for somebody who is, handling most of the diagnostics? And see, do they even have an idea? Is there a role for that? If that's what you're shooting for. Again, just talking with you, it kind of sounds like it is. Uh, because that changes things, and everybody kind of does that, differently. I'll explain it the way I do it. And think about this too when you're talking to a potential employer. Just understand from their perspective, it's just a math problem,
Hmm.
really. Like, I'm bringing you on, I'm paying you this much. I need to make this much, or you need to make this much for me, and I would like you to make this much for me.
Hmm.
It's a math problem. So how much value can you bring to the company? And you have to bring at least this much value, or at least somebody else has got to be really crushing it within that system to make up for you. But that's not long term. But anyways, it's a math problem. So what value can you bring to that system? And really think about that before you go in, because you can express that to the potential employer. Be like, here's what I can bring to the table. Maybe it's a year down the road. Maybe I need some training, but I'm willing to get there and willing to do this. That's going to be very attractive. But the way we do it is we have a guarantee. My guys are salary. Like, you are going to make this much money every single week, regardless, as long as you show up for work. And then we have a bonus. So if we hit our numbers at the end of the month as a group, right, we have certain numbers that we're shooting for. If we hit those, then everybody gets a bonus. And so it's a team based thing there. So everybody, it's got to pull their weight. But hey, sometimes I have a shitty week. Sometimes you have a shitty week. Um, yes, it's yeah, it plays into the overall amount that we make that month, but one person having a shitty week doesn't kill the month, and so we can still get there as a team. And so at least at small scale, that's worked out really, really well for us is to have kind of there's an incentive because everybody can say what they do, but people are incentivized by money. And you make that incentive right, and people are definitely willing to work towards it or put in the effort to get there. But the guarantee, in at least in my opinion, I don't know, my employees can tell me if I'm full of bullshit, but I feel like it's a very livable wage that I'm offering as a guarantee. And then, hey, if we all kick ass, then we get something on top of it. And that's how I have it set up to work pretty well for us. So there's still like an understanding that you have to be efficient. We want you to crank out work. We want you to make money, but you're not going to be high and dry if it's January and it's super slow and there's nothing to do. I'm still
Yep.
going to pay you.
I like that, and I like it's sort of that building that team feel to it, because it really is a team sort of thing, and I think that's important because this can be such and it's one of my concerns, honestly, and the more I work, uh, sort of the less I get concerned about it. But one of my initial concerns was that this can be a very like isolated profession, where you're working like even you obviously mobile diagnostics very much so, but even working in a shop, it's like you got your bay, you've got your jobs, you're doing your things, and you're not really
Flat rate can be a lone ranger thing for
Yeah,
sure.
and so I
Because
was
if everybody else is just trying to get theirs, why stop and help you? Again, going back to what Tommy said, that's where the team thing comes
that's
into it.
culture. I can
yeah,
I can
exactly.
guarantee you that that's culture. And now I will tell you this. Just keep this in mind, right? I'll give you some advice. If and Sean can correct me if I'm wrong, but in my humble opinion, there's three paths to this industry. Path number one, you want to work on newer shit and potentially be able to make some good, decent money. I'd probably do dealer. You're gonna learn how to master one vehicle, the master repetition, and you're gonna have access to a lot of training, a lot of new stuff, and potentially, depending on your area, maybe higher up in terms of pay. Um, Again, I said potentially. Hear me out. Downfalls would be it's very lonely, and the majority of the dealership cultures they suck. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's some good ones, but the majority of them are not conducive to people who really enjoy what they do. Most of them, again, it's just people who want to come in, do their work, and get the fuck out. Then there's the fleet approach. If you want security, stability, a decent hourly rate, and not want to do a lot of work, I want to do easy work. No, I mean it's just the truth. It's fleet, right? Like
It's a different
especially,
pace.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very different pace, especially if you're in like a major municipality. Dude, those guys have it. They have it sweet, and then they still don't do a lot of major work. So fleets are good for that, for security, stability, and ease of work. Um, but the downfall is not a lot of training, and it's me, Tommy. For me, I can't stay still, man. I need to feel like I earn my money. I am not a not speaking bad about the unions at all, but I am not a union guy. I do not want somebody saying to me, "Okay, you this is how much you're going to make and this is as much as I can pay you." No. I need to decide how much I'm getting paid. My work is going to provide you the ability to pay me what I want. That's me personally. Um if you're really thinking about doing diag, man, I strongly suggest find a very high paced, very well run independent facility. Not all of them are good, but there are some rocks, like some really kick ass um, independent shots. Look at your one of your students, Sean. He's doing great. He was able to
It's a
sharpen
nice
his
shop.
diagnostic skills. He found a good shop that was able to mold him. He started as a C-level tech. Now he's their shop foreman. Um, so I think if you're trying to do diag, and then also like let's just be realistic here. Like I what I hated about the dealer was I'm limited to to honing my craft on one brand.
Yeah.
And then again, obviously, it's all nuts and bolts. But then when you take a jump to another dealership or that dealer closes or something happens, then you're like, dude, now I got to do all these certifications, get learn a whole new different vehicle. You go into the independent world, you'll get this kind of like, I'm not a master of anything, but I can fix anything. And with diagnostics, that really helps you because you get tunnel vision. Like I know some really good like dealer technicians who are the exception, but I don't know a lot of them who are just kind of like, yeah, I own what I work on because I don't know how to fix anything else. I have a GM buddy and I fix his wife's car. She drives a Palisade because he just doesn't want to deal with it. And so,
Yeah, I
in my humble opinion, that's kind of like your pathways in this industry.
I think that really kind of jives with what I've heard from talking to some of my instructors. I know one of my instructors got mentioned, not by name, but in both Zach Sheaf's podcast and in Malcolm Trammell's. He was mentioned in both, and I said not by name, but when they were talking about him, like I know who they're talking about. And so his name is King. It's Henry King, and he's one of the instructors that's been really influential on me. And so he does at Mobile Diag for a living. He actually owns a shop too, but at this point, the shop kind of runs itself, and he does the mobile because that's what he likes doing, and that's what he's really good at. Um, and so I had a thing, I don't really want to say where, but that I did have one dealership that I went to um, because I had a question about one of their vehicles. I'd seen something online, somebody was like, I wonder what this is. And I was like, I wonder what that is too. And so I looked online, I couldn't find the answer. And so I was like, well, I can just go down there and ask. So I did, and I ended up talking to their lead tech and shop foreman. And I because this is I'll say it's like it's very specialized. It's a dealership, but it's very specialized. Um, I think I had some preconceived notions about what it would be like to work there. I hadn't really thought like I had not considered at all working at a place like that. But even without really thinking about it, I had some preconceived notions. But in talking to their lead tech, who took the time, it really took time out of his day to just talk with me about stuff and stuff, which I really appreciated, obviously, when people do that. I think I was probably wrong in about some of the things that I thought about what it would be like to work there, and it seems like the work environment would be like that Tommy was saying, sort of the culture that I think I would be looking for because it is a specialized dealership. It's a lot smaller. It's not like one of the giant dealerships where you're just a sort of a number. But I remember, so I was talking to King about this because I was like, hey, I had this, I hadn't really considered working in a place like this before, but I liked the person that I talked to. He took his time with me. Um, and he expressed they were the same concerns though that Tommy had. He's like, the downside to that is it's a dealership and you're doing something very specialized. And whereas if you go and work at like an independent shop, you're going to see a lot more variety. Like what y'all see in a day, like is there's a huge variety of the type of vehicles and the type of problems and stuff like that. And that was his concern the same way like that Tommy says, if you're interested in Diag, that that that's sort of the downside of going with a dealership and even a non-specialized dealership. You're still kind of specializing in that make of vehicle, and I think there's concern about that kind of stunting um, my growth. I think as a diagnostically because of only not seeing the variety that you guys see as like independent shops.
The variety can be daunting, and especially early on because you're learning like something fresh, like each car that pulls in, and a 2002 Camry and then a 2022 Chevrolet pulls in. Those are very different things. Obviously, yeah, okay, there's some similarities, but the systems and the scan tools and you're learning something new every single time, which I still am. Every single day, I write something down that I learned that's brand new to me. I've been doing this for a long time. But when you're first starting out and like you don't have like a base and a reference for most of this stuff, it is a very daunting challenge. So, I guess if I'm a new tech starting out today, I would sure hope that there's someone there to support me and help me through, somebody I can lean on, that it's not just, hey, Sean's coming in at, 4 o'clock and then he's by himself until close, which that was the case when I was at one of my first shops. Is I
Really?
was just there. I was there by myself to handle whatever came
Yeah.
in, and good luck. And
No.
it did not go well some days. And like Tommy said, I mean, getting thrown in the deep end. It's not the worst thing for your experience, but it's daunting, it's challenging, and cause a lot of people to just say, "Screw this, I don't want to do this."
Yeah, that's I think definitely understandable to that, and that's what I am not looking for. I think that, and again, that's why this dealership that I went to was not like that. Like I think I kind of expected that they in particular would especially be like that, but it was sort of the opposite.
Hmm.
That they were much more like they had hired somebody out of UTI a couple of years ago and had really good luck with them and training them up and stuff like that and working under the other techs there. And like that was really attractive to me is that the thing. And I know I probably maybe gave Tommy the wrong idea when I mentioned like pay at first, but to me the sort of the pay is in that way is sort of indicative of the culture of how they're going to treat somebody new. Like if they're going to start you off on flat rate right off the bat, to me that's somewhat indicative of are they willing to invest in you and help you grow, like let you work under a master tech and stuff to grow your skills, at least initially starting out? Because I think that is super important. And the idea that you're kind of new and they're just going to leave you to figure it out yourself, I think is not a recipe for success for, I mean, like it is trial by fire. I'm not going to act like that there isn't some benefit to that sometimes, like forcing you to figure
Yeah,
it out.
But you are going to
But
screw so much stuff
that's
up
that's
in
that's
that
kind of why
period
I'm
of time.
that's kind of
Yeah.
why I'm torn because I feel like it made me who I am,
yeah,
right?
I mean, I
Like
can see both
I don't
sides.
yeah, so it's kind of like um and then people talk about money and then tooling, and yes, it's like it's hard, man. Like no matter what, this it's a hard industry to start off at, man. I mean, I didn't have shit. Like I didn't have anything. I actually ended up financing my first scan tool because I was broke, man. I didn't have any money. When I started like wrenching out of my dad's shop like on the side, I didn't have any tools, man. Um, just a couple things that my dad had lying around, and a cheap little box from Craftsman, a 220-piece set. Because I said, I'll buy a scan tool first because nobody will borrow me one, but I can probably, one of the shops or somebody down the street will borrow me something. Dude, nobody borrowed me shit, man. Like for a while, I was renting tools from AZ until I finally paid off my scan tool, and then after that, I took out uh another loan to buy more tools, and then like my UTI money, my UTI gave us like some money to buy tools with, and I calculated that, and that's how I got my start. Um, but I just I feel like for me, I invested wisely. I knew what I needed and I went after it, and I think a lot of technicians who start off with are more concerned about how things look, and then you hear a lot of guys buying toolboxes and whatnot when they're
Yeah,
first
yeah.
starting on. I'm just like, dude, you
Hmm.
don't even know if you're gonna like this shit, man. To be buying a $7,000 box, and another thing too, like for tooling and stuff, man. Like I feel like it's easier now because man, those Craftsman tools, people swore by them, but dude, they sucked. Like I don't care what anybody said. They were not a professional line of tools.
Uh-huh.
And now you can get some halfway decent stuff at Harbor Freight for like cheap.
Well, for sure. I try and tell people, and again, this is somewhat speaking from a little bit of experience, but obviously not the level of experience that you guys have and that lots that listeners have, is that. But even from my experience, I was like, let the work kind of tell you what you need. Like a lot of people want to go out and buy all this stuff right off the bat, and I was like, have you had a job that required you to have that yet? And if so, like, have you seen it more than once? And even then, like you said, do you have to buy Snap-on, right? Like, no, like you can there like
Probably not
there's
in most
better
cases.
there's less expensive options that will do the thing, but you'll get to a point where I feel like it the work kind of tells you what you're going to need for this at a certain point. You do that. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on, but specifically scopes and scan tools. And because I have my thoughts on that, but I'm curious what y'all's thoughts on for a new tech coming in. Like, should they have their own scope and or scan tool? Yes or no? And what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, if you want to buy a used scope, that's $150. I think that's a good idea for anybody to have. But what I would do is, and I mean, on the scan tool stuff, we can talk more about that.
Okay.
Whatever shop you're in, go to the lead tech or the tech that's making the most money or the most successful tech, or there's probably a few of them in a given shop, and just ask them, be like, what tools specifically make you the most money? What is the best return on investment? Specific tools, right? And as a tech doing repair work, I probably would have said something like these impact swivel sockets. I'm pulling them out. These specific tools make me a boatload of money. My 3/8 electric impact makes me a boatload of money compared to what it cost me. Like those are the things that you should be investing in for repair work, right? Now, diagnostics, different. Dude, in today's world, okay, so everybody listening to this, if you have $100 that you can spend on a tool, go buy a top scan. And you don't even have to buy it from me. This isn't a sales pitch, but I can sell them to you if you want. But it's $100. And this thing will do just about everything that a full-fledged freaking flagship top-down scan tool will do with your phone. Like, your ability to do stuff scan tool wise, you have so many more options. Yes, there's going to be a lot more things to deal with. There's a lot more problems out there, but you can get scan tool for cheap just to get started. Easy stuff there. And then you can go from there. So don't buy a big, expensive, crazy thing right off the bat. That doesn't make sense.
Bro, I remember like my first scan tool cost me $5,000, man. Back in
Yeah,
2000,
Snap-on.
it was a Mako. Not even I always went against the grain on stuff, so I actually bought a basically an OTC
The
Genesis.
Genesis.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
a Mako Determinator.
That was a great tool back in the day.
Oh yeah,
You could do GM programming with that tool.
yeah, and so I have a different approach, man. A a all right. Yes, I believe you should have your own tools, 100%. Um, and I believe if you want to invest in yourself, you need to buy your own shit. But starting out, I don't see it, man. I feel like there's an order of things, and I may be wrong, but I think people should. I mean, I think newcomers should focus on like what are you gonna do, right? Like again, if you're gonna work independent and you want to get into scoping, but you're still trying to wrestle with like learning how to be a tech. So which one is it, right? So I think that's gonna be the I think it's more of a case by case basis of what you're actually doing. But if you're gonna go work at an independent shop as a C-level technician, um, I'd say just wait until you have a little bit more experience to like actually maneuver. And these are the type of questions you need to ask the shop. Hey, what kind of tools do you have? What kind of tooling do you have? What do I have access to? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, what do you expect of me coming in tool wise?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have that. I have that question for sure because I'm used to the
Oh,
school. Um, because at the school, I have my set of tools that I bring, and I can do
Mm-hmm.
95% with what I have at this point. But it's nice to always have this. The school has, like, if I don't have something, I can borrow it from there. And so I know I'm uh, going into a shop's a different environment than that. They don't have a central tool checkout, like
I
that.
know some independent shops who will refuse to have their C-level guys buy tools. They buy them
Mm.
tools that you can use. They have carts, stuff that you're gonna need. So
Huh?
again, I'm not preventing you from or anybody, right, to not buy stuff. I'm just saying that just as well as they're interviewing you, you need to interview them,
Oh, for sure.
right? Like that's a lot of people get hung up on like, oh, what are they gonna think of me? No, what do you think of them? Like
Yeah.
Are you happy with their selection of tooling? Are you happy with like um how they operate, what their belief systems are? Like, do they align with you? Like, that's that's more critical than anything. The tooling, and again, like there has to be an ROI for tooling on the owner standpoint, but any shop worth their salt should have a scope and a scan tool that you should have at your disposal. That's kind of where I'm getting
Yeah,
at, man. Like
that's true. That's true.
that's kind of where I'm like you're right, Sean. Like $150 for a U scope is fine, but like you see, my thing is like I work mentally, man. Anytime that I've gone cheap to learn because it was cheap, I ended up getting frustrated and not learning anything. Like my scoping career started late because I didn't know what a good scope was. I just bought hunks of crap that were cheap, and I just always thought I was too stupid to understand what I was doing. And I finally just said, "Screw this! I'm buying a Pico because I had the opportunity to buy one at a good price." I'm like, "Hey, I'm not dumb. It's just I had some crappy scan tools, some crappy scopes."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of like the U scope is good. Don't get me wrong, that's a great scope. But like in the grand scheme of things, like I always feel like, and I get this question a lot for EPROM stuff, like, oh, what would you do? I'm like, dude, I spent thousands of dollars on cheap Chinese fucking tools that I shouldn't have. And if I would have just been smart about it, I should have just bought one good tool. Because when you're beginning something, you're also fighting the tool, right? Like
Yeah,
this,
for
Yep.
there's
sure.
a reason why the tool's cheap. And so now it's like it's a variable. Like, is it you or is it the tool?
Yeah. Well, I know exactly what you're
Or
talking
is
about.
it or is it like something that your equipment, right? Like, that's another thing too. So it was very unpopular because I've said this before plenty of times. I'm like, dude, if I like, oh, if you can pick any of the cheapest tools to start right now, which ones you pick? None. Buy a good one. Like, if not, then just fumble your way through it like everybody else. But I'm at a point in my life where I value my time more than than forging fire. But
Yep.
ultimately, that's gonna be up to everybody because I've had disagreements with other top guys. They're like, oh no, I'm glad I did it that way because and I learned a little bit more. Awesome. But for me and where I stand, no, I don't have it anymore. I'm way too busy.
Yeah, it's yeah. Life's too short anyway to be fighting your tool to get done what you need to get done. For sure. I probably will. I'm going to push back just a little bit on the thing. So for one, so I have a U scope, and it's actually Malcolm who was on the podcast before. I actually won it in his class, like as like
Nice.
Nice.
out of his own money. He put these like kind of like prize packages together, and so he did a raffle at the end where it's like you got so many entries based on like if you took the ASE, the A8 exam, the engine performance exam, you got this many entries into it and stuff, and that's what actually encouraged me to start taking the ASE exams. That was the first one I ever took. The A8 was the first ASE I did. And I did it because I did the math and I was like, okay, so it costs this much to take the exam and his prize packages are worth this much and my odds are this much of winning. So I figured I would come out okay, and I did. So it worked out really well all the way around because it started getting me to take the ASE exams. So I would say, because I've had other people recommend like the U scope as like a first scope, and I've people have asked me a lot of times when I have mine when I'm using it about it. I would say I would absolutely, and this is my personal opinion, of course, I would absolutely not recommend the U scope as your first scope, because I think there is a thought that because it's kind of small and simple that makes it simpler to use and easier. And I think it's just the exact opposite compared to like Pico, especially Pico 7. Like when you go to Pico 7, it's like, oh, if I want to change my setting, I just click here and here to do all this. Where it's like on the U scope, you have to know where to go to get to whatever it is that you're trying to change and stuff. It's just, and obviously it's not like you can zoom in, where it's like you can have your capture and just take a zoom in on it like you can on
Sure.
Pico. And I think the barrier to Pico for most people is obviously the expense because any of your 4 channel Picos are expensive. But what I found sort of more recently is I use a 2204A at this point, which is a 2 channel Pico that's you can get for it's like $150. And because the power in Pico really is, I mean, they make good scopes too, but it's the software. And that's where I think that when you're fighting cheaper scopes and stuff, you're really fighting cheaper software that's not as well designed and laid out as that. And Pico is kind of the standard at this point. Like when you see people doing demonstrations, a lot of times they're using Pico for that reason because of what comes with it. But I've found that you can pretty much do almost everything with the 2204A that is the basic level stuff that you would be wanting to do anyway, like relative compression, just capturing, voltages, whatever it is. Like I have a Hontech amp clamp that was like $65 that works just fine for capturing amperage on waveforms and stuff. And so I think I've probably got $250 total into the scope plus my leads, and I'm able to do 95% of what I would like to do. Obviously, you're limited to two channels as opposed to four, but I think it makes the learning curve a lot better compared to like using a used
Sure.
scope because it's just
Yeah.
easier to have a full size screen to click on what you want to do. Because once you kind of learn a little bit how to use the menu system, it is pretty straightforward. But again, even Pico 7 is to me easier for somebody new than Pico 6 was. And
Yeah.
I
that
like
would
Pico
be
6
my,
better.
yeah. And I understand a lot of people like, because
I hate Pico 7, man. Jesus
if you're,
Christ, I hate that thing.
Some of my laptops hate Pico 7. Like there,
All
I
of
have
my
a laptop
laptops
where
hate Pico 7.
oh,
if
really?
I run a math channel, it freaking just slows that computer down like
Yeah, yeah.
crazy.
Dude, it's
Um,
so terrible, man.
And if you
It makes me
know
want to throw it across the room.
But if you know how to use Pico 6, then Pico 6 is total. Like I've used Pico 6 as well. It's you can pretty much do all the same things in Pico 6 for the most part. I think that you can do in Pico 7. It's just the layout is a little bit easier for somebody that's new on Pico 7. Um,
there's a really big learning piece that you can gain from using Pico, and we would do that in the college where we just run the demo software too
yeah,
of like here's time base, here's voltage scale, and yeah, you can learn the ins and outs of the scope and what's happening quite a bit more, and then you can use that to work, I don't know, backwards or down to a U scope, and then
exactly.
changing those settings makes a lot more sense. So I agree with you in that stance, but like Tommy was saying, if I'm a new tech, I would find it very difficult to justify, buying the big, full-fledged Pico, the one you're talking about. That might be a great option, but ask the shop, like, hey, do you have a scope that
Well, for
I
sure.
can use? As Tommy was saying, it's like, if this is a place, you're shooting for that place where you can grow and you can, do diagnostics, and hopefully they've already invested some money in it. They've got something that you can use that, oh, hey, okay, I can see what a WPS can do, but I don't have to buy it myself. That would be ideal. Obviously harder to find. It's not, it could be every shop, but questions asked 100%.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure because I think that a good shop should have a four channel scope that's like a Pico to be able to use to do the diagnostics that you need to do with it. I just know from having worked with other students, the, the problem is that obviously when we're learning scope stuff, one of the first questions that comes up for students is, okay, how much does that cost? And it's like, well, a full Pico kit, with the four channel scope and the leads and everything like that is, I don't know what, like 4 grand, something like that. And I can
Yeah,
see
at least.
their as soon as you say that, like they just shut off. They just stop because they're like, oh, I can't afford this. I don't. It's hard to learn to use anyway. I couldn't afford it even if I did learn how to use it. So why am I even expending the brain energy on this? And so that's why I think it's important for people to know that there are starting out, like when you get to the point where you need that and want that, like it 100% will pay for itself and make sense to do so. And ideally, like I said, a shop that you're working at should have something like that for you to use, but there are cheaper options available to learn on that are really, again, I think more powerful than a lot of people realize they are. That I don't want people like especially younger people that are coming in just not even trying to learn the scope stuff because the cost side of it just immediately makes them shut off, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't go out buy a full on Pico set if you're brand new tech. That's
Mm-mm.
not
Do what I
not the
do,
play.
man. I just started looking for stuff used, man. All my first J devices were used, so I
Have you
used to.
had any issues with that, with any of like the I mean, obviously like hand tools I'm not afraid to buy used, but sort of like if anything like a scan tool or a scope, for some reason I'm a little bit more reticent. What did
Scan tools are funny, because um, you have to buy it at the right price. Because typically speaking, you're gonna buy it outdated.
uh-huh.
So then you have to update it, and then at that point, it's like, well, was it worth it? So that's kind of tricky, and especially how some of these Chinese tools are just so cheap, man. Better off just buying, a decent mid-grade one and call it a day. But in terms of like J devices, nah, man, I've been fine. I've had tons of luck over the years, and then, for a while, like right now, I sold a bunch of them when my guy quit because I'm like, dude, I don't have time for a lot of mobile stuff anymore, so I'm gonna condense my tooling. And yeah, I got rid of a lot of stuff because I had like, man, I had four VCM3s, I have four MDI2s, and I'm just like, what the hell do I need all this for?
It's
I
like,
haven't
how
even
many
used
can you
my.
use at once?
Well, I mean, at one point, I just, I pick them up on deals. Like, I always watch
hmm
out for them and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've never had like somebody sell me a bad tool. One of my VCMs had a bad USB port, but I changed it myself. But he told me I bought it cheap for that particular reason. So no, I mean, I don't, I don't see anything wrong with it.
John, I did want to ask you.
Yeah, I've had.
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, I was just say I had pretty good luck with the used stuff too, and I mean you got to do your due diligence because there's some scam artists out there.
Oh,
That's probably
100%.
the bigger danger if you're going to be buying stuff online is people scamming
Yeah,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
and
yeah.
selling you
just not even sending
selling
you a
you,
tool.
yeah, that or selling you knockoffs. So
Yeah,
you got
yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
careful with
Chinese
the
clones
knockoffs.
and
Yeah.
stuff. Yep.
I did want to ask you because you mentioned that the top Don, the top scan, I think it was, it's like $100, and when I've looked into that one before because I have a scan, it's not a top Don, but I think the when I looked into that one, the only issue with it was it's so like yeah, it's super powerful, like it's bi-directional and will do a ton of
Hmm.
stuff, but I think you have to re-up it, like you have to do the yearly subscription or whatever for it to maintain those features, right? Like it's not like my understanding because I've emailed Top Don about it, and they were like, yeah, if you don't continue to pay for the subscription, whatever, I don't know if it's $50 a year or $100 a year, that
I think it's like 100.
yeah, that it will then revert to where it's basically like the generic tool, like it won't do any of the bi-directional stuff and stuff, which is
Yep. Yeah, you lose all the functions, but
Yeah,
I
but
mean, it
that's
is only like
that's
a hundred
all. That's
bucks.
pretty much all of them, man. You can't unlock gateway vehicles if your subscription's not up to date.
hmm
Auto, for example, the tool is half useless. Like, if you have an Ultra, for example, that does a lot of like BMW coding and Mercedes programming stuff like that on board, it doesn't work. Or like Kia Hyundai, right? It would do like a lot of stuff for Kia Hyundai. It doesn't work. So at the same point, the base tool is still there. So it's the same stuff, man. We're going to a subscription based model in every aspect of our lives.
Yeah. I'm using, I have it's Autofix,
Yeah,
OTOFIX,
it's
It's a
just
good tool.
the D1
Autos.
Lite. Yeah,
Yeah,
I call it Auto. You know, it's what it
it
is.
is an Auto. It's Auto's
Yep.
way
It's the
of
same VCI.
Yeah,
it's
and
Auto's
so,
It's just orange.
and it was nice
Auto's way
because,
of.
yeah, exactly, that's exactly what I have. And so, but I paid about like 250 for it. And it comes with 2 years of update, so it's good, you don't have to pay anything after those 2 years. And then after the 2 years though, I think it doesn't like it's not going to update to newer models and stuff. And it sounds like, but I don't use it I just use it for, for as a basic scan tool, to do some, to scan for codes, do live data, stuff like that. And so my understanding is that after 2 years, it'll still do that, but it is it
But
the
not on like a gateway car. like any tool, doesn't matter what it is, you have to have an active subscription either to be able to use auto auth. So like, do you want to, and that's becoming a lot of cars now.
Hmm.
And the thing of it is like if you're working on cars, like the scan tool should be one of the easiest things that you're just okay spending money with because it's going to make you that money back so
Yeah.
fast. Like it's not even a thought. Now, granted, yeah, I'm in a particular, I got a bias on what I do, but like if it's a tool that we need to diagnose the car, just okay, just buy it. Spend the freaking money. It's going to make us that money back on
Yeah.
one job,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then I'm done thinking about it.
Yeah. I can see that. I'm just, again, coming from, we're poor college student. If,
Yeah.
but
No, I hear you. I hear you.
it's,
But in 2 years, you can get somewhere and you can be making a lot more money and you don't have to worry so much about it. So
yeah.
yeah, I think looking at subscription cost is worth it and weighing that against other tools because there are a lot of tools out there. And what is it going to cost me when I have to update? And that I guess that's the way I would look at it. It's like I'm gonna have to update the tool eventually
Yeah.
if I want it to use it for XYZ. What does that look like? What does that cost me? And there is a difference between that, right? Snap-on and Top-On and Autel, they're all gonna be different. So look into that before you drop the dough on something.
Yeah, but like I said, what you guys do, I know it's like, yeah, whatever it costs is what it
Yeah.
costs because
Yeah, it's a different world. Yeah.
yeah, it more than pays for itself for sure. So yeah, I've really been happy with what I've gotten out of mine for the money that I have into it.
Nice.
Yep. It's a good little tool. We got a couple of those. I like them.
Yeah, and I think that the yearly subscription, I think is 120 after it expires. But I'm sort of like, I'll probably just buy another. I would just buy another new one at that point. That's
And,
2 years
and
of,
there's tools where that's a good argument. Where it's like, okay, I guess I could update this. Otherwise, they're so cheap. Some of these tools just get the newest version.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna.
And
I might even give him this one, or I don't know. But yeah, my new guy, I want to give him a tool. Because I have an Ultra and I have a D1 Max, and then I got this light here at the house. I use this for like calming to modules on the bench, just a. I don't really have any particular use for it, so I don't know. We'll see.
we call them the top scan. We call them baby dons. And I gave everybody. I was like, here's a baby don. Here's a baby don. And they're. I
I
mean,
got two of them
again,
in my
just real quick
toolbox,
with your phone.
and I don't even know how the hell I got them.
I did want to ask you about something because I know you had done some recent episodes on using like AI in your business. And so
Hmm.
I've kind of explored with trying to use it as a student, as a learning tool, and had some, I guess, mixed success is what I'll call it on that. And so I am curious sometimes, like how much of that is me and the way that I'm interacting with it, and need to change the way that I'm interacting with it. But I actually had a use case recently that I was like, oh, I wonder if it'll do this, because if it'll do this, this would be really helpful. Have you used it for, because the one of the things I need to for sure get better at is, and I know you mentioned it even just earlier on this podcast about having a way to like save information from a job that you do so that when you work on another similar car, you can be like, oh, I saw this same thing before, and this is
Yep.
kind of what I really
Yep.
like. So are you using it to help organize that at all? And if so, how? Like, what is your organization system in general?
So the storage for everything is Google Drive. That's where I started, and uh, but that's where we've been putting stuff long before I was using that. But now the way I'm integrating AI is so that I have a project set up to tell it exactly what I want. Like I want this output. Like don't give me any BS. I'm just having you reformat what I'm saying in a usable manner that is structured and grammatically correct. And then I take that and I put it, but I just do the talk to text. So I'll be at the car, I'll be driving away from the car, whatever. I open up the project, say I got a 2013 whatever. Here's the problem. Here's the details that I noticed, and I will give it specific things that I'm like, hey, if I knew that going into this, I would have gotten that car diagnosed much quicker, right? Or this was an obstacle that I hit as a technician that if I knew that it was an obstacle, then it would have made my life a lot easier. And my mindset now is really employees, employees, employees. Like they run into this. I want them to get through it faster
Yeah.
and with less problem.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm giving it those details, and it has specific instructions to like put those into a searchable format. And so then it reformats it. It doesn't add any BS. I told it, don't put any fluff in there. Don't add anything. Just reformat it. I just wanted it in a nice, easy to read, structured format. Copy, paste into my drive. But then the other thing that I did, and this took an incredible amount of work, mainly because I'm kind of slow, so it was really tough for me to get this figured out. But I got ChatGPT to natively integrate with our Google Drive. So now my employees can just ask it, hey, can you pull from the drive anything about a 2DD6 in a Mini Cooper? And do we have any info? And it goes, finds it the drive, pulls it up, gives you the link to where it is in the drive. So that's the organizational format that we're using right now with that. And it's growing. It's like small right now, but it's getting better and better all the time. The more we add to it, the more we figure out how to use it. And that's maybe we can circle back to what you were saying as like, is it the way I'm using it? This is just another tool that you got to learn how to use. It's not turnkey, in my opinion, at least not right now. You have to figure out the nuances and the ins and outs of it and where it can be useful and where it's going to lead you astray and be full of shit, because it is sometimes, and you got to be careful.
Yeah.
But there's some really powerful potential behind it, but you gotta put the work in and figure it out. It's still just another thing that you got to put work into if you want to get the most out of.
Yeah, that's it sounds like you're using it what in a way that is I just realized just recently. I was like, oh man, if I can do this, it'd be helpful because what I've run into sometimes, and I think this is a new tech thing, and I don't know if it changes as you get more experience, whatever, but I there's a lot of times where I'm going through something and I want to be like, if there was somebody there, I want to be able to tell, hey, remind me to do this before I'm done. You know, like at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
job, like I've even little things like remind me I need to put this clamp back on, and not leave it loose, things like that. And I've learned that, yeah, ChatGPT, because I've tested it before to try and look up like torque specs on something, or I was having, even with service info, having a little difficult time finding torque specs on something. And so I was like, well, let's test it out. Let's check it out. And it was very wrong. You know, it was the sort of torque,
Yeah,
like, if you do that,
yeah.
you're going to break something. And so, but I like the idea of like, no, you only take what I'm telling you. Like, don't go looking for other information somewhere else. Like, only what I tell you is the only info that you have, because it'd be really nice to even I would like to find a way where you can interact with it pretty quickly, like through your phone, like almost like where you would do the thing, like I hope my phone doesn't do, I don't know if it's set up for that or not, where you say like, "Hey Siri," and then it, hopefully it doesn't mess somebody's up, and then it will listen to you, because there are so many times where I'd be like, "Oh, the firing order is such and such," and I could just going through service info tell it, and even when I'm looking at torque specs on something that I know I'm not using right now, but I'm going through, I'm gonna need it, so I can just tell it that, and
Well,
then
somebody's probably already working on this. If they're not, they can send me a check once they hear this idea. I said this years ago that an all data or an identifix needs to get it integrated and functional so that you have a large language model tied in with the service information. So you have that option. You log in all data that you can just pull up the chat bot, and it's going to have it. It's going to, if I figured it out, just some dumb mechanic that I can link it to my Google Drive and it has immediate access to all of our information. I'm sure they can do it with all data or identifix, and they probably are.
yeah.
But that's gonna be what you're talking about, and I gotta imagine it'll eventually be out if it's not already. And now again, the accuracy of it is gonna be very important, and maybe that's the reason it isn't out today. But once they figure that out, um, that'd be huge. You just say, hey, yeah, what's the firing order on this thing? No, okay, yeah, you can search something like that in Identifix or whatever. But there's stuff that's tough to find, right? There's stuff that is difficult to find. I don't know. There is a value in finding it yourself though, too. I found that. It's like knowing how to actually get to it, but sometimes I just give up and go to the search bar too. So
Yeah, I was trained, like my instructors, like both King and Malcolm trained us initially, partially because we do the Skills USA competition, and there sometimes in the past at the Skills USA competition they don't let you use the search like to look up service information.
Okay.
But what I learned from the get-go to how to use the menu system to try and get where you were. And I will say it's definitely helpful to do that because a lot of times you don't know what it's called in the whatever this manufacturer is calling whatever you look for. And I've seen people dick around for too long with search to not find what they're looking for. It was like if you just went here, here, and here, you like through the
Hmm.
knew how to use the menu system. So I think there's definitely value in both to being able to, because sometimes, yes, if I can't find it through that, I'm just like, well, let me just search and see if it'll find what I need. I'm like you, I don't really my experience with ChatGPT is even if it had access to like all data, at this point, I don't necessarily trust it to always pull the correct
No. And,
information.
and you shouldn't. That's dangerous to take something like this and put 100% confidence in it. It's, in my opinion, what if, somebody's interested in it right now is just experiment with it, use it alongside. When is it successful? When does it blow smoke up my ass on stuff? And check it, like double check it against stuff. But I can say, just trying to build the little tiny thing that I have, it's definitely sped up productivity in a number of areas. And you find something like, again, I didn't think the reformatting of voice to text would be such a powerful thing that AI could do for me. But dude, it's a killer. We do it for invoices too. That I'll go to bat against anybody on that. That is so much more efficient than me typing stuff out, and it's better. It's faster. It's way better. Like, no question. I pay the $20 a month alone just for that. And we got that dialed. We made the project with the specific instructions. Like, we get beautiful invoice descriptions for stuff that, in my opinion, adds a lot of value, but also covers our ass because we can just give it all the detail and then we come back and be like, yeah, we said there was a vibration on the test drive of this one after we calibrated the around view. Like, that's there. You can include all that stuff. It's not any extra work
Yeah.
to do. So, anyways, there's uses. You just got to find them.
Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna try that because the big thing I run into is a lot of times if I had a person there that I could just be like talking to, like, okay, I'm looking at the wiring diagram, and the wire I want's yellow with the red stripe for this and blah blah blah, and then in a minute or two when I'm under crawled up under the dash and I don't have it right in front of me, if I could just be like, hey, what was that wire color for such and such, like if it can do that, to me that is for me would be super helpful. So I'm gonna try that. Now you've convinced me to give it a shot and see if it can do that. I'm bad about like I tell people all the time, remind me to do this, remind me to do that, because I get busy and then forget. And there's things that are obviously really important not to forget when you're putting cars
I
back
have a
together.
list. I I have lists so that I don't forget stuff because I have a million things to remember and I won't remember all of them. So
That's when, yeah, that I can see that being really good use case for it. So I'm excited to see if I can get it to work for me because that would be great.
I will say use the projects if you're using ChatGPT. I'm sure it's similar with other, but utilize the projects and give it specific instructions for what you want it to do. That is so it's just focusing it in. It's this giant engine that there's so much potential. And if you're just asking it like just random questions and it's pulling stuff from the internet in whatever format it chooses, it's not at its full potential. You're taking that magnifying glass to the sun and burning that ant, right? Like you're focusing it in on a specific task with very specific guidelines, and you got to flesh that out and figure out what you want it to do and how to tell it to do what you want it to do. But man, once you get that dialed on a particular thing, I think it amplifies it quite a bit.
Yeah, I can see it because it's honestly it is my experience. I would not say that it's smart because for one, it doesn't ever ask
Yeah.
you
What is it trained
questions.
on?
Yeah,
Internet
yeah,
data, man. Like
I always have to accept if lots of people are wrong about something on the internet, it's going to be wrong. And I've seen that in some of the things that I've asked it, like automotive wise. And it's like, you get it wrong because lots of people get it wrong. And how do you know any better? You don't because you're not actually smart, you know?
So you're right. It's not in a lot of cases. You're like, wow, this is a ridiculous answer. This is way off base. It's giving me, BS. But here's something. If you're working with the projects, you're giving the instructions what to do or not to do. It's going to remember what you tell it, and it's going to do those things, which there's a lot of people, myself included, that probably are not, you can't say that about, right? You're going to tell me something 10 times and I'm still going to screw it up. You give it specific instructions, do this, don't do this. It changes its behavior, and it's going to change that output or look at something differently or not do this. And again, that's been really powerful to build some stuff with it, but you got to play around with it. And I'm not saying everybody has to go do this and spend a bunch of time on it. I'm really interested in it. It interests me. And I've found some uses for it, but I think it's worthwhile.
Yeah. And I think especially now, like, it's pretty cheap at this point, and I think they're at that
$20 a
I
month.
think they're at that stage where they're trying to, like as most kind of startups do, where they're trying to onboard as many people as they can and
Mm-hmm.
draw you in with that
Get you hooked.
low initial
Yep.
price, and in the future it's going to get more expensive. And so, but right
Oh,
now
for
is
sure.
maybe not a bad time, cost wise versus what you can do with
Yeah,
it,
but
because
the
like,
the other version is like 200 a month.
yeah, see, I don't know anything about the different, like what you get necessarily for the different levels.
I really don't either.
Hey, yeah, there's the enterprise one. You get more processing power, and you can do the deep research. There's more. I did the business version mainly because it doesn't. At least they say it doesn't train on your data, and I guess I'm taking them at their word on that. But I was concerned about all the data that I was putting in there. I'm like, okay, well, if this is just getting trained, then Joe Schmo asks about this problem that we put a lot of work into. I don't want that having it in that database again. Says they don't train on your data. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can test it. You can put something in there that it will definitely
Yeah,
see if
yeah.
it'll out you when you put something
Right,
inappropriate in
right.
there.
You guys go ask about a Jaguar with a headlight stuck on and see if it comes back with a answer. So,
I have a question for you, like, because I run into this a lot with people that are, and I'm obviously one of them too, that's new to diagnostics. Is there ever, and I have my thoughts on it that I've tried to share with other people that are new, but like, is there ever sort of like an order that you kind of go in or stick to, or is it completely dependent on the vehicle and the situation? Like, how do you make the determination of sort of what the order is?
yeah, I mean, I have a process and I generally follow the rules. I mean, there's obvious things like, get all the information, verify the concern, that sort of stuff I'm going to follow in an order. But beyond that, I think just personally, I'm at the like point in my career where I just take every car as what it is, and I just let the process happen.
Hmm.
Like I feel like I know, like okay, I need to check spark on this car, or I need to check the the timing and data pids on this, this situation, and there's a lot of feel to it, but that is, I think, only just because you're putting in the reps and doing it over and over and over and over again. But starting out, I think a process is pretty important to stick to that until you really build that sense of like, oh, okay, I can skip ahead to this because I have a feeling this is where this is going, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But you don't have that at the beginning. So process very important.
Do you have the pro would you
To
do you have a process that you could share for like somebody
Yeah,
new? Like,
yeah. I mean, it's exactly like I said. Like you're getting all the information on that particular car. Like, why is it there? It's there for a reason. Like you said, people don't go into the dentist to get their teeth drilled. Like that for fun, right? They have the car there because they want you to fix something. Something's wrong. It's not doing what it's supposed to outside of regular maintenance. So know what that is. And that sounds really obvious, but it's not always obvious. We go to shops and we're like, why did the customer bring the car here? We don't know.
yeah,
What do you want me
yeah,
to
yeah,
do?
yeah.
And okay, so then yeah, you verify the concern. You're doing a full scan on everything. Yeah, right. If you're doing a Diagnostic. I don't care if the car's in your shop, do a freaking full scan on it, get all the codes. You're doing a visual inspection of the system. I don't care what it is, look at it because 1 out of 3 problems you'll find by looking at the system that has the problem or the thing that's not working. It's just crawl under there, lift it up, open the hood, get a flashlight, whatever it takes, look at it. You do your pinpoint testing. That'll, start general, get down to your pinpoint testing, do the whole funnel thing. And then if you can, simulate if you can bypass the component, you can simulate the repair, you can make it work, right? You can be the part, you be the switch, be the relay, whatever. Okay. Verify that that fixes it, or at least find a second way to confirm that the thing you think it is what it is, right? Find another way to test it. And then if you can verify the repair after the fact. And that's generally it. That's pretty much it. Very general steps, but I'm going to follow that through everything. And the stuff like the visual inspection, the stuff about asking the information's so huge. If you can ask the right questions, you can get that out of there, man. Like it really will. I'll say it save you a lot of time, but it will burn up a lot of time if you don't do that. Like, just make that part of your process to like. And it sucks as a tech because you don't always get to talk to the customer. So find a way to talk to the customer or train your service writers. The whole thing. We've been through it too. Like, there's a medium for between my guy who answers the phone in the shop and me, and I have these questions. I'm like, well, why didn't you ask this? Okay, well, then I got to train him on that. Every one of these, you got to ask, is it a used module? If we're doing a blind spot monitor calibration, was there damage? Did they check the angle of the sensor before they put the bumper back on? Because they never do. Anytime somebody wants you to do a blind spot calibration, they're like, it was fine. It wasn't bent at all. It's just a little tap on the bumper. No, the thing's bent in here. But I know that as a technician, so I know to ask that. The guy on the phone might not. So
yeah.
That's the sort of stuff that if you're not the person dealing directly with them, find a way to train them, to build a script, whatever you got to do, because it's gonna just that's such a big time suck when you don't have the information. It only misfires on cold starts, right? But they don't tell you that. You got a light on with a 300. Okay. Well, if you don't know what you're doing, how much time are you going to waste on that freaking car?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I said, I think when you get to a certain point, like you said, it's you have to have enough experience with different models of vehicles, and
but I can't skip that stuff. That like getting the information. I'll still get burned if I'm just walking into it blind, or if I don't do my visual inspection. If it's cold out and I'm too lazy to get out and look underneath there. Been there. I'm like, oh, it's just there's an open wire. I can see the freaking thing hanging there. Like, yeah. Build your process and then work to not skip the steps.
Yeah, I think that's the not skipping the steps is, especially starting out, important, because I think as King, like I said, I've mentioned him a few times. He kind of draws it as like there's which way do you go? Well, you can't tell which way is a lot of do you check fuel first versus spark first, whatever. Well, it's easy to say after the fact. Oh, if I had gone this way, I could have gotten here faster. But he's like, what's important is when you pick a direction, keep working it, and don't then have to go back over steps that you already did because you didn't do it thoroughly, or you did it in a way where you're rechecking something a different way that if you had done it this way to begin with, you wouldn't have to. He's like, the good thing is like you need a logical, like you're continually moving forward to the process, and then it's not a lot of times it's not obvious which way would have been the faster way until you get to the end. But what's important is not being wasteful with your time by having to redo stuff in a way that you should have already picked up the information for, or that you've skipped over, and now you have a giant hole that you're like, oh well, now I have to fill this hole of information that I left because I skipped over what I should have been doing. So
yeah, it'll always happen to a certain extent. You'll get there and be like, man, why didn't I do it this way? Or how did I miss that?
Oh,
I swear to God, I tested that and it was blank.
I would say,
I guess not.
For me, that's like every car I work on at this point. There is I have learned to lean into failure. Like, it is constant failure, and it's been really good for me because you learn to just get over it and not be like, a lot of times I'll be like, oh, I would think it's this, this, and this, but I'm probably wrong. And if I'm wrong, that's good because I'm going to learn something. But I am not afraid to fail at this point. Like I have to lean into it because you're going to fail so much. Like I feel like I fail
You're in the right
constantly.
industry then.
Oh my God. Like I just can't imagine that there's another, I'm sure that there is. I'm sure lots of people feel this way about their chosen profession, but we talked about this before, like just humbled on a regular basis. And especially when you're new, like there is so much you
Yeah,
don't know. And there are so many things where you're like, you feel like everything is learned the hard way when you're starting out, and it's almost like I wonder, it's like, is it this way for everybody? And I think, yeah, it probably is that way for everybody. And at a certain point,
I
I
mean,
just,
it depends on how far you take it. You can get to a point where you just cruise and you just say no to stuff that's challenging, and that's fine for some people. But um, if you, I don't know, if you want to keep going with it, you want to keep getting better, then yeah, they're gonna freaking humble you every day.
yeah. And so, but like I said, it's been good for me overall because I've really developed a lot of confidence, which seems sort of counterintuitive that through failure I've gained confidence, but I really have because I'm like,
Hmm.
I don't, it doesn't, I'm like, okay, I feel this way now. I'm gonna go home and sleep on it, and I'll get up tomorrow and I'll hit it again. And if I have to watch a video online, I was like, if I have to watch 5 videos online, if I have to dig through service information, what did I miss so that I can be better at this the next time? Like, it takes a lot of effort and work, but I at least have
Sure does.
confidence that I'll do that.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna let it beat
it's the
me.
right attitude to have.
Yep.
And
Agreed.
I don't know how you survive any other way because it does. It's pretty constant at this point, and I just have to take it as like, all right, let's go. This is a new case. This is another one that's gonna kick my butt. Let's go. You know.
Well, cool guys. Freaking almost 2 hours. Uh,
Man,
no,
it
no,
was
no.
good.
It's all good. It's good. I'm always good to. I was happy to talk to somebody who's excited about it because there's lots of reasons to not be.
I was like, well,
There
because
are
they're
too
new.
many.
I was like, give me. We'll see where I'm at in a couple of years, right? Like how I feel
Yeah,
once
yeah. We should do we'll do a
we
follow
really
up and
should.
see like.
I am very curious myself what it's gonna feel like because, like I said, there are days like we were just talking about. There are days where I'm like, oh man, I feel I'm getting good at this, and then the next I'm like, oh my God, like I am the worst at this, you know.
Yeah, that won't stop.
And that's why I'm curious how I'll hold up over a few years with it. But well, we'll see. I'm curious myself to see where it ends up.
Cool. Well, thank you for spending the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, that is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you, Matt, for spending some time with us this evening. Definitely appreciated it. And I'd like to thank everybody else out there for listening to the show, all the feedback, like mentioned during the episode. The reason I keep doing this is because, continue to get positive feedback. And I hear from people listening that, how it's benefiting them or they're getting something out of the show. So as long as that's the case, we'll keep rolling with this. So, thank you again. And with all that out of the way, let's get out there, start fixing the world one car at a time.